So you're probably wondering, are there spots where you could put your nest as Peni Parker that will let you easily carry your games? Yes there are. Hey YouTube, this is Unbearably. Today I'm going to go over all the best spots to place your nest and mines on the map Spider Island that will make your enemy team wish they banned Peni. Now that being the case, a lot of these spots are so strong that it was difficult for me to find good footage of defending the third zone, since most of my games we easily held before they could even capture the first point. Such as when we had bullied the enemy team so much that their Jeff just gave up and decided to start hanging out with our Wolverine. Now, if you're new to Peni, before watching this video, I recommend you go check out my guide that goes over all of her basics. I'll link that in the description down below. Otherwise, let's get to it. Spider Island is covered in great nest spots that will allow you to easily shut down enemy teams as they advance. And with Rocket's team up this season, you can pretty much create an impenetrable wall that will force the enemy to waste a healing ult just to move forward. That said, with how powerful this team up is, I doubt that it will stay in the game for too long. So this video will focus on the placement of Peni's main nest, but I'll try to mention any key spots where having the extra nest will make the biggest difference. To start things off, I always set up my mine traps on these two walls, which both get me a ton of kills, and because they can be remined from a distance, you can often catch enemy healers and backline DPS as they join the fight. Here's a quick example of my setup process and how effective these mines can be. Now I've tried a bunch of different nest spots in this first area, but recently I've come to realize the greatness of this tree. When you place your nest on this corner of the platform behind the tree, your nest provides tons of cover for your backline, while also being really easy to extend onto the main path, which creates a really strong defensive line. By placing some mines along the path, or by refilling the traps you made by their spawn, you'll find a ton of your game that the enemy won't even be able to make it past the first choke point. This clip starts off with my mines taking out the enemy Rocket as soon as he gets to the fight. And then you can see how the enemy team just can't contest my webs, with the enemy Wolverine not able to chase after my team's mag after he grabs him. And when the enemy tanks do decide to contest my web, they just explode instantly. If the enemy team does make it around the corner, then your next defensive line is the top of these stairs. By destroying this wall, you can place your nest inside this room, which extends the web over the steps and makes it very difficult for the enemy to push up. I will then place my mines either offensively on this wall, which can often catch enemy flankers, or more defensively by this wall, which can eliminate enemy backline heroes if they push forward with a healing ult. Here we see that not only does my ult create enough pressure on their invisible woman that she needs to use her own ultimate, but because of my strong nest setup, she just gets burned down the second she lands in the web. After that, the nest takes out Doctor Strange, and the rest of the team falls one by one. This next spot is extremely strong, but not one you can easily set up at, and instead you only want to try to defend here after you've won a team fight and have pushed the enemy team back to their spawn. You want to place your nest here behind these rocks, which allows you to easily extend it into the main gateway or into the side room to stop the enemy from flanking. If you have a rocket on your team, you can place the second nest here, which lets you completely shut down any movement through the ground level. In this game, we had the enemy trapped in their spawn the entire game, and anytime anyone crossed through the gate, they would just explode instantly.
Lines in place.
Now I find this spot a pretty difficult position to hold as Peni, but since your team will always want to fight here instead of giving up the space, I usually have to, so I place my nest behind this rock, either here or here based on the direction the enemy is attacking from. From here, I try to set up an anti-tank mine trap around this defensive line. Now that said, I find this position to be rather weak, and often will quickly retreat to the next spot to set up a stronger defense once our lines start to falter at all. If any Peni players out there know any better spot to set up around here, let me know in the comments down below, as this spot is definitely my weakest on this map. This clip is nothing fancy, but it at least shows how the nest can still prevent the enemy from moving forward, as their tanks have to back up whenever they get too close. This forces the enemy healers to pop an ult just to start the fight, which gives my team the advantage when our cloak ults afterwards.
You know what to do, spiders?
To make up for the weaker last spot, I've got this monster of defensive position to show you. By setting up your nest behind this car, your webs will extend underneath it, which covers this entire area with webs. From here, you can easily extend your webs down the main path, making it almost impossible for the enemy to get past what is already one of the hardest choke points in the game. This spot's only real weakness is flyers, so make sure to ban them if possible, and ask your team to focus the flyers so you can defend against literally everyone else with a bit of heals. To put in perspective how strong this spot is, this gameplay is from before the Rocket team up, and 3 of my teammates just died. From there, I help our team finish off Wolverine. Rocket walked into my mine trap. Squirrel Girl dares to walk into my nest. Their Spider-Man is so intimidated that he whiffs his grab and just falls in the pit himself. Wolverine comes back and gets shredded again. And using my ult, I can push back their healers so much that my team can focus down Emma and she goes down too.
It's spider time!
Now you generally don't want to set up here since the last spot is so strong. But if the enemy team does manage to push to this point, and you need some last minute defenses, then I place my nest back on this ledge, or right by these destructible barrels of hay. The first nest doesn't cover the main path as well, but it is good for preventing enemy flankers, whereas the second is a really good option for putting damage on the front lines. However, I often find that it gets destroyed by enemy AoE attacks.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
You know what to do, spiders?
Now, if the enemy team manages to make it to the third zone, there are 2 very strong nest spots that can still easily win you the game. The first spot is right behind this pillar, which extends its web over the main path and enough around the corner that it's really quite annoying for the enemy team to destroy it. From here, you can easily extend the web either towards the door or down the main path based on which direction the enemy team is taking. Regardless of which way they attack from, I always try to set up a mine trap by this door to catch flanking enemies or people who respawned trying to get back to the fight quickly. But that said, we've also reached the point that I barely have any footage of me defending these areas, as it isn't something that I've had to do in comp since like season 1.5. I considered finding a shot or 2 from random quick play matches, but that didn't feel legit since quick play could be up against literal bots. So I'll show you the one time I got to defend here in season 2, and otherwise the next gameplay examples won't be until I'm covering offense. Anyways, let me know if you have any suggestions for how to handle this better in the future. Now in hindsight, I make some pretty key mistakes in this clip, but at least my strong nest location and ability to stall long enough helps my team come through for the win. For instance, I start this clip by playing pretty aggro into the friendly healing ult, which leaves the enemy Doctor Strange and Magic uncontested in my backline. Although my nest does help me build up my ult charge, which lets me stall the enemy long enough for my team to regroup, I definitely overstayed my welcome and ended up dying needlessly. Luckily I get BRB'd, but by that point it really doesn't matter as my team has already cleaned up the rest.
Gear up, little one.
The next extremely strong defensive line is behind this corner, which covers most of the main path and can also easily be extended to make it extremely difficult for the enemy to walk forward. From here, I try to set mines either along this path or along the back wall where the healers like to roam. This defensive line is essentially your last stand, since if they make it past this spot, you won't have time to set up another nest before they win. Playing offense Penny on Spider Island is extremely strong for 2 main reasons. The first is that there is plenty of high ground and off angles for Penny to flank and disrupt the enemy team. The second is that there are a couple of key choke points that turn a small team win into a full point capture. You'll see what I mean. When you first come out of spawn, there are a couple different ways to approach the enemy. You could either go through these doors and set up in this room to attack the enemies from the right. You could go through these doors and take a left, which lets you set up a nest behind the enemy team. Or you could climb this wall and place your nest here on the high ground, which lets you easily harass the enemy backline with mines and force their team back. Now watch out, because this building can be mostly destroyed, but try to place your nest kind of forward and to the side when approaching this way. So I start this round by placing my nest on the high ground, but since I see that my allied tank is getting chunked down, I drop down to possibly take some shots for them. Because the enemy Hulk gets caught with my web snare, which gets our team an easy first elimination, I then notice that the enemy Wolverine is on the high ground, where he can't really do anything because, as you see, if he tries to contest my nest, his life just gets shredded. Flanking through the room on the right is also quite strong. By placing your nest behind this wall, the enemy team can't really contest you without being eliminated. This leaves you to harass the enemy backline, or even baiting an enemy into coming and fighting with you inside the room without really having to worry about being taken out yourself, because there's even a health pack to use. Here I catch the enemy Squirrel Girl out on her own, and I take her out. I then lead the thing back towards my nest, where I admittedly misplayed by chasing after him instead of retreating inside for safety. Either way, by that point I had done enough damage that my team was able to quickly take him out and push the cart around the corner. Once the cart's around the first bend, I like to move my nest from corner to corner as my team pushes forward, which acts as a bit of a buffer zone, preventing their dive from contesting my backline, while also forcing their team back. This can turn small amounts of momentum into forcing the enemy team all the way back to their spawn, which, as you'll see, is exactly what we want when we're playing on attack, since as Peni, we're able to easily stop them from recontesting the point. Now this clip is a great example of what I mean by moving the nest from corner to corner. Since our team is already up 2 between my mines and the enemy team's Spider-Man getting caught, we're able to easily walk forward with my nests being the new buffer zones as we move. One by one their team gets taken out, and this is a slight spoiler for the next spot, but I immediately set up to prevent a retouch.
Nope.
As soon as your team is pushed onto this area, make sure you lock it down with your nest right up against this wall. By extending your web, you can easily cover the main doors, as well as the high ground, and with the help of the team up with Rocket, you can even place your second nest here, which will completely lock down almost every single route the enemy team can take. Not only that, but they're generally behind where most of your team are going to be pushing the cart, so they're not likely to be destroyed quickly if the enemy team does make it through a door. Here we're demolishing the enemy team as we turn the corner, and I'm immediately trying to lock down the main path as we finish off any stragglers, making it really difficult for anybody that's not a tank to walk through that door. I kinda missed the old team up, but this new one with the Rocket is so much stronger that I really can't complain. Although the couple seconds of invulnerability were nice. Now, since the enemy Strange placed his portal with its back to my nest, I'm able to extend my webs around the cart and blow up anyone who steps outside of his portal. But I also catch the enemy Invisible Woman with my mine trap as she tries walking back from spawn, since my nest completely shuts down the main path. From there, it's an easy cleanup and an easy win. Similar to the first point, there are a couple different routes I like to take when attacking the second objective. The first strategy is to place my nest behind this rock, which helps prevent my backline from being dove. From here, I can mostly leave them alone and walk through the building, where I can place mine traps behind their healers and harass them from the right. This forces them to not only split their focus, but I also often catch enemies with mines as they back up. Although in this clip I managed to start the fight by getting a kill on the enemy Squirrel Girl, and soon after I even take out the thing too, the enemy team uses both healing ults, which lets them kind of regroup for another team fight, before we're able to get past them in the next fight because of my team's better ult management. Alternatively, you could place your nest at the same spot to defend your team, and then cyber bond up to this upper layer of the building roof. From here, you could easily lay mines behind the enemy team, or along the path that they like to take from respawn. This is also a really great way to reposition behind the enemy team for a more flank-oriented Peni playstyle. In this clip, you can see me mining the enemy's route from spawn, being all sneaky-like. After that, I destroy the enemy team's Peni nest and mines, which allows my friendly ulting magic to go ham, and the pressure she's putting on pushes back the enemy team into my mine traps, which with a little bit of support, we're able to easily deal with the rest of them. And from there, I immediately set up to try and prevent a retouch. Now, similar to when on defense, placing your nest in this area by the car can be quite strong for creating a safe zone for your team to fight. You can also move your nest forward as the cart moves up. Placing it by this light post not only covers your backline, but its web can then be extended around the corner, allowing for an easy point capture, since the enemy would need to stand on your webs if they want to contest the point. Here, I put some pressure on the enemy backline, getting the enemy rocket to panic and pop his ult early. From there, I retreat to the safety of my nest, where the enemy magic explodes as she tries to follow me. Down one player and with no healing ults, my friendly Winter Soldier takes them out again and again and again until we get the point. Similar to locking down point 1, by placing your nest behind this sign, you can extend your webs to cover both paths the enemy team can take to come contest. I've found that often I'm able to lock down one of the two paths completely, which forces the enemy team down the other. Either way, it can be a really strong defensive position that makes it really difficult for the enemy to stop you from capping the point. Even though I have Cyber Bond sensitivity set to 1, I still get that bug sometimes. It's really annoying. Either way, you can see that because I focused on locking down the left opening, the enemy team all pushed right off of their Luna ultimate and onto the point. At this point, I back up and I try to take shots from my team while the enemy healing ult ends. But because my nests are placed behind them, the enemy team doesn't have anywhere to go, and one by one they start to explode as they retreat, giving my team the point without too much trouble at all.
This is gonna hurt. Here comes trouble.
Time to get it in gear, kid.
As soon as I see that we've won the fight, I go to set up and secure our team's forward position in the next area. With a single nest, Peni can hold the entire middle of this room, while also setting yourself up to easily lay mines behind the enemy. By placing your nest right here, your web extends most of the way up the ramp, which by throwing down an extra web and some mines makes it so the enemy team can't go through that path. Additionally, you can just extend your webs around this bend to fully lock down this half of the room. From here, I just let my team distract the enemies while I can set up a full minefield behind them by going through my freshly locked down flank route in the middle. Try this out, it's insane. In this clip you can see how easily I'm able to set a trap behind my enemies, so when my team's Jeff captures 3 of their team with his ult, their Squirrel Girl gets taken out as she backs up, their Rocket Raccoon panic runs into my nest, and with only Magneto left to contest the point, I can place my nest down to push him back before turning to make sure that we hit 3 on cart for an easy win.
Time for some fireworks.
I unleash the Vashant.
Finally, if you have any momentum as your cart gets close to the end, I place my nest behind this sign, and I extend my webs around it to lock down that path from the enemy spawn. This spot has done me well many times, and for some reason, not many people take the other door out of spawn.
It's
Subscription.
time!
And that'll be it for this video. If you felt you learned something useful, drop a like and a sub down below. So I know this video took me a long time to put out, but I'm hoping to get back on track and get more content going for you on a regular basis. Either way, because I've been out of the algorithm for so long, please make sure to engage and leave a comment down below. Discuss which maps you want me to cover next, your thoughts on the start of Season 3 so far, or any good spots that I forgot to mention in this video. Personally, I've been really enjoying playing The Thing since his recent buffs are pretty insane. Thanks again, see ya!
I'm fresher than fresh. I step up the steps and wall running for the flex. He told me I was next. I'm coming for next. It really isn't no question. Only superheroes in this section. Only big bangers on the set list. On top of buddies where I eat breakfast. Then I shine like a